why is it we find ourselves in these patterns of being in a relationship in our head instead of in real life? I'm going to tell you the reason for that. Go on, sweetheart. Boop, boop. Let me tell you the reason why that is. So I was talking about this on my YouTube channel yesterday, I think it was. I don't know if you guys know, but I've been reviewing the Disney Plus series Loki, which has been really exceptional at displaying what it looks like going from an avoidant attachment style to a secure relational style, in that he was really pushing people away and now he's letting people in. So this pattern actually of fantasy relationships is really linked to that. So when you don't feel safe in relationships, when you feel like a relationship is going to hurt you in some way, that being close, that being intimate is a risk, then you're going to keep it at arm's length. But you still have that need to be close and to be intimate, and so you create these situations in your own mind where your needs are getting met, but there's none of the perceived risk, right? Now, not to slate any of my colleagues, but I really believe most relationship experts don't understand this and don't get this at all. And the reason is because they've not been there and they haven't experienced it. If they haven't experienced it, it's very difficult for them to understand. So this is when you might have a relationship coach that is saying something like, oh, just get over it, just get over him, just get over her. But it's psychologically a lot more complex than that, because you're doing this to meet a need, and at the same time, simultaneously, you don't feel like the other option is safe. And until you go back and really recognize where that came from and heal that and make peace with the past, it's going to be nigh on impossible to move forward. So here's how you do this. And by the way, let me know in the comments below if this is resonating. Have you ever had that experience of fantasy relationships, which looks like daydreaming about them, imagining spending time with them, imagining your first holiday together, your first Christmas together, birthdays, whatever it is, conversations in your head. It's something that's happening mentally, but not happening internally. Sorry, not happening externally in reality. So here's the thing with this, is that the relationship isn't real, but the emotions are. I'm going to say that again because I really want this to land. The relationship isn't real, but the emotions are. So it's not a case of simply just get over it. It's like, yeah, great, thanks. That's not really that helpful. That's not much of a revelation. What you have to do is you have to break up with them, but not in the traditional sense. You don't call them up and break up with them because you're not in a relationship. So how do you do that? There are many ways to do this, and here's one way that I get my clients to do this. And by the way, this is something that most of my clients struggle with on some level. So if this is you, then keep listening, because there's something here for you. You need to break up with them, and you do this with something very practical. You do this by writing a letter. And I know this might sound like, really? You write them a letter? Yes, and here's what we do. You write about what you've experienced with them, right? The experience you've had in your mind with them. You write that to them. You write about how you felt, you thank them, and you intend to let them go. You tell them that you're letting them go. You wish them all the best, right? In this letter. You write it out by hand, you write it in your journal, you write it on paper. You don't type this out, you actually physically write it. Psychologically, there's a lot of reasons why that is more helpful. And then you're going to read it out loud. You're going to read it out loud to them. Now here's the thing, not actually to them as a person. No. It can be helpful to put a chair in front of you, or you can just picture them in front of you, and obviously make sure you're in a safe space to do this. Often with my clients, I don't get them to do this with me because it's something that's quite intimate and I want them to have this experience with their imaginary fantasy person. So you imagine them in front of you, you can put a chair there, write their name on a piece of paper, which is a very traditional therapy technique actually, or just picture them in front of you and you read it out loud to them. And then you let yourself feel what you're feeling. Very common to cry when this happens, because the emotions are real. Emotions are real even though the relationship isn't. And this is the fact that most relationship experts are not going to understand this, right? It's very real in your mind. Your mind can't distinguish the difference between what's going on in your mind and what's going on in reality. It's the same reason why if you're stressed with something to do with work, your body responds as if that's an actual threat. because your body can't tell the difference either. So you read this letter out loud, and then you're going to burn it. You're going to burn it. It can be helpful to burn it over a candle. You can burn it outside, by the water, in your garden, lay it on the soil, let it burn. And when it burns, it releases. And then you've broke up with them, you've released them. This is going to feel quite challenging and quite raw. What's happened with this fantasy relationship pattern is this has become a real emotional crutch, and it's masking something else. It's masking a deep pain. It's helping you to avoid some level of stress or anxiety in your life. It's ultimately what's going to happen when you've released this is you're going to feel a space. And in that space, there's going to be an emotion that feels really uncomfortable. It can often be as simple as sitting alone in your apartment or your house and just sitting without the thoughts of them in your head and just looking around and realizing that, okay, this person's not here, this person's not in my life, and they never were. But I've got me. I'm going to create something different now. It's quite difficult to do this on your own. I mean, you can, but even I struggle to get results on my own. That's why I've hired someone recently to help me scale to 6 figures and beyond. We need help, we need support. So if you need support, you can work with me, you can apply to work with me. The link for that is in my bio. And I also have a brand new program called the Accelerator. It's quick and dirty, it'll get the job done, and the details for that are in my most recent post. You can go to my posts or my stories for the details on the Accelerator. The Accelerator is one of those things that you know it's for you, and the doors close on Sunday, so you're going to need to move quickly. This is a really, really powerful container that's going to lead you through this process of understanding why it is that you've let this person become a fantasy in your life and help you to break free to actually have beautiful relationships in real life. I've certainly gone through a real period of transition in my personal relationships over the past 6 to 12 months. There's a lot of people I had to let go of, and you might find that too as you do this work. There might be people who no longer stick around. There might be people who fall away, and it might be sometimes surprising when that happens. And as we release those people from our physical world, again, we might be going back to the letter technique of writing this out. Something you can look for as well if you're interested in doing this is Google Total Truth Letter. And it's not my model, but it's a well-known psychology model. If you need a framework to do this letter, the Total Truth Letter is a great way to do that. Or if you really trust yourself and you've been deep in the inner work for a while, you can just journal it out and free write, and that can be really, really powerful as well. The most important part of this process really is going deep into the feelings that are coming up, because as corny as it is, but it's true, feeling is healing. So it's the feeling of the emotions, it's the activating of the old emotions, which really opens up the old wound, but you can't heal the wound until you're going to open it up and clear it out and make sure then it has a fertile ground for healing. You can't just leave it there to like fester, it's going to go bad and funny and whatever else. You need to like reopen this emotional wound in a safe way, right? So that you can release the emotions and then move forward. It's the emotions that keep us stuck. The emotions that keep us stuck. So I really hope that served you. Again, if you want to apply it to work with me, it's incredibly powerful, potent work and a very, very powerful process. You can apply to work with me for 6 months. The link's in my bio, and you can also book in for the Accelerator, and the details for that are in my most recent post. I would love to hear what you took away from this video, so let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.